I'm Shannon,
And I'm Holly.
and this is a Girls Gone Curious podcast, where we talk about things that make us curious. So grab your favorite drink, sit back and relax because your show is loading. Today's episode includes the following trigger warnings, mentioning topics of murder. This podcast is not suitable for children. Please listen with care. We do apologize if we say any of the names or places wrong in today's cases. This week's true crime episodes landed on the family murders. So let's get into it.
We're going to start off with the Rhoden family murders, or Pike County Massacre. The town of Piketon, Ohio is relatively small. Not the smallest town we have talked about on this podcast, but it's still on the smaller side. Piketon has just over 2,000 residents. It is also one of the towns located in Pike County. The Rhoden family was a well-known family in this town. Someone who knew the Rhodens said in an interview, "Everyone knows that family. They're involved in everything and they're at every event that's going on in town. Just about see them anywhere you went." Christopher Don Rhoden Sr. was born on September 17th, 1975 in West Union, Ohio, to parents Clarence and Geneva Rhoden. He worked at the Big Bear Lake campground. When he was 19 years old, he met and married a woman named Dana. Dana Lynn Manley Rhoden was born on August 29th in Hillsboro, Ohio, to parents Leonard and Judy Manley. She worked as a nurse at the Hillside Nursing Home. Dana was passionate about helping people, so she fit right in as a nurse. People also said she had a warm, motherly vibe. In 1994, when Dana was 16, she married Chris Sr. About a year later, they would have their first child together. I am going to fair warn you that a lot of these relationships are at young age and age gap. So in this family, it's kind of normal to do that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but
It just shocked me at first. I mean, I know it happens.
yeah. Clarence, also known as Frankie Rhoden, was born on August 10th, 1995, in Georgetown, Ohio. His parents are Chris Sr. and Dana. He worked at McCoy Lumber and also as a maintenance man. He would get together with a girl named Chelsea, and they would have a son together named Brentley. They didn't stay together very long after his birth. And eventually Frankie would meet a new woman by the name of Hannah. So Hannah Hazley Gilley was born on February 28, 1996 in Portsmouth, Ohio, to her parents Raymond Gilley and Andrea Shoemaker Carver. She was the fiancée of Frankie, and in 2015 they had a son together. Now, this is a different Hannah. Hannah Mae Rhoden was born on April 7th, 1997, in Portsmouth, Ohio. Her parents are Chris Sr. and Dana. She worked at Edgewood Manor, which was a nursing home. And while there, she was working as a CNA, but her dream goal was to become a registered nurse. When she was 13 years old, she began seeing a man named Jake Wagner, who was 18. The family didn't see a problem with this because the Wagner and the Rhoden family were pretty close and they knew each other. And just like Chris Sr. and
Yeah.
Deanna got together when they were younger and had a little bit of an age gap. Not as bad as that one, though. When Hannah was 15 and Jake was 20, she became pregnant. They would have a daughter together named Sophie. Sometime after having Sophie, Hannah would end the relationship with Jake. Not really feeling anything anymore for Jake. Jake, of course, didn't want to break up, and there were rumors and theories that they would be off and on again. So kind of like Hannah's parents, Chris Sr. and Deanna weren't together, but there was rumors that they would be off and on again. And in 2015, Deanna changed her Facebook post or relationship to "It's complicated." So there was theories that she was kind of seeing Chris Sr. again. So that was kind of what it seemed between Hannah and Jake as well. But they would never officially get back together. In 2015, Hannah would become pregnant again, but Jake would not be the father. And I wasn't able to find out who the real father was. So, side note, since there is two Hannahs, I will be referring to Hannah Gilly, Frankie's fiance, as Hazel. And then Hannah Rhoden, that was with Jake, I'll just refer to Hannah. Keep things simple. Christopher Don Rhoden Jr. was born on November 4th, 1999, in Portsmouth, Ohio. His parents are Chris Sr. and Dana. Chris Jr. was still in high school, and on summer break, he would work with his dad at the Big Bear Lake campground. Another side note, I will be calling the father Chris Sr. and his son Chris Jr. for the rest of the case, to make things simple. Kenneth Wayne Rhoden was born on March 30th, 1972, in Adams County, Ohio, to parents Clarence and Geneva Rhoden. He was one of Chris Sr.'s brothers. Kenneth worked at U.S. Utilities and married a woman named Stacy L. Rigsby on May 17, 1991. Gary Dwayne Rhoden was born on December 19, 1977, in Ashland, Kentucky. His parents were Kenneth Rhoden and his wife Ruth and May Diane Stewart Leadingham and her husband James. His father is not Kenneth Wayne I just mentioned. Kenneth Wayne Rhoden was his uncle, not his father. If that can make sense. There's a lot of
similar names for sure.
And his father, Gary's father, Kenneth Rhoden, I won't be mentioning again. Okay. So when I do refer to Kenneth, it is Kenneth Wayne, Chris Sr.'s brother.
Okay.
I'm assuming that his parents were no longer together, which is why I listed their spouses. So I'm assuming they were step parents.
Okay.
Gary and Chris Sr. were cousins and they were very close. In 2007, Chris Sr. and Dana got a divorce, but that never got in the way of taking care of their children. They were on good speaking terms and could have possibly been in an on and off again relationship, like I mentioned earlier. April 22nd, 2016 started out as a normal day for Bobby Jo, Dana Rhoden's sister. She took care of her daughter, making sure she got up and went to school before heading to Chris Sr.'s home. Every day during the weekdays, she spent her day feeding and taking care of the livestock Chris Sr. owned. But that day, it was weirdly quiet. Too quiet. Normally, Chris Sr. would come out and greet Bobby Joe before she started to attend to the animals. Knowing something was wrong, she used her spare key to get into the trailer Chris Sr. lived in. Calling out, there was no answer. Checking the rooms, she eventually stumbled upon a bloody, unconscious Chris Sr. She would find Gary bloody and unconscious as well. Bobby Joe would call 911 in a panic. She would say, "There's blood all over the house. My brother-in-law is in the bedroom, and it looks like someone beat the hell out of him." At this point, Bobby Joe believed that they were both still alive, but just unconscious. After calling 911 at 7:49 a.m., she would run next door to the trailer that Frankie, Hazel, and their 2 kids lived in. But unfortunately, Frankie and Hazel would be in the same condition. Their 2 kids, however, were alive and unharmed, but covered in blood. Bobby Joe would take the 2 kids outside the house, wrapping the 6-month-old baby boy in a blanket and putting her sweater on 3-year-old Brentley. She said in an interview, "I was not leaving those babies in there. All I wanted was to get those babies out of there. Thank God they didn't take those babies too." It's not confirmed, but I believe at this point was when Bobby Joe realized they were not unconscious, but dead. All of them had been shot multiple times. She waited outside both of the homes for the police to arrive. In this time, she called her brother James Manley, telling him what happened, asking him to go over and check on Dana and tell her what happened, so she would find out from a family member, not the police. When James got to the home of Dana, Chris Jr., Hannah, Sophie, and Hannah's new baby, it was also weirdly quiet. As he walked in, he called out, but there was no answer. No living room TV going, no shower running, no noise in the kitchen signaling people getting ready in the morning, no noise at all. Going from room to room, he would see Dana, Chris Jr., and Hannah were dead. Hannah's couple-day-old baby was alive and unharmed. And Sophie at that time wasn't in the house because the night prior, she was staying at her dad, Jake's, house. All of them had multiple gunshot wounds. A few hours after police arrived and were on the scene, at the 3 houses, another call came in. At 1:26 p.m., a call from Donald Stone saying that he found his cousin Kenneth, Chris Sr.'s brother, dead. He had a single gunshot wound to his head. So I'm going to try to break this down and make it seem easier. You have the first house where Chris Sr. and Gary were found dead. Then the next house is on the same property and within walking distance. Frankie and Hazel were found dead there. Their 2 kids alive and unharmed. Then just over a mile away, Donna, Hannah, and Chris Jr. were found dead in Dana's home. Hannah's baby being alive and unharmed. Then the weirdest of all, and at least 10-minute drive from the other homes and on a different street, Kenneth was found dead in his home. So in total, there is 8 victims. Beginning the investigation, the police were figuring it was personal. And that was because of a couple factors in this case. Chris Sr. had multiple pit bulls on his property, all of them being guard dogs and aggressive with strangers. They were all left alive, so police assumed it had to be someone who knew the family. They didn't set them off to attack and bark. When they interviewed Donald, he said he thought it was weird the way he found Kenneth. He was laying in bed and there was money, cash next to him on the bed. So if it was a robbery gone wrong, then why would they leave the money? The next factor was that police believed it was multiple people who committed the murders. With Chris Sr. and Frankie living so close to each other, they would have heard the gunshots. But there was no evidence showing that either family heard anything or were even on alert. And Bobby Jo said that she believed Hazel was breastfeeding her baby when she was killed. And the other men appeared to be sleeping or getting ready for the day. So, I mean, if you heard a gunshot wound, you'd be like...
Yeah.
Especially if it's multiple gunshot wounds, or gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
Police would keep a tight wrap on this case, making sure that they only told reporters what they wanted them to know. There was really no news other than the deaths. April 24th, 2016, police announced that 3 out of the 4 properties were marijuana grow operations. There were hundreds of plants, and in 2016, marijuana was still illegal. Thoughts of a possible drug cartel began, and it wasn't too crazy of a thought. In 2010 to 2012, in Pike County, police found illegal marijuana operations that were linked to a Mexican cartel. However, the surviving members of the Rhoden family said it was just for personal use. But, like, if there's, like, over 100 plants, why would you need that much for personal use? I mean, I don't know how much plant...
I don't know either, but that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Dana's father would come forward and claim that Dana had nothing to do with the drugs. April 26, 2016, the autopsy reports came out. Chris Sr. was shot 9 times all over his body. They believed he was awake in his bedroom when the suspect shot him through the door multiple times. His body also showed signs of decomposition while the others didn't. And there's no other information on that.
That is interesting.
Weird. The only theory is that since he was the first one killed, maybe his body was farther along than the others. But it's a weird fact.
Mm-hmm.
But that was written on the autopsy report. Gary was shot 3 times in the head. Frankie was also shot 3 times in the head. Hazel was shot 5 times in the head and face. Chris Jr. was shot 4 times in the head. Hannah was shot 2 times. And Kenneth was shot 1 time in his right eye. Months would go by with no arrest. Police would be working on this case during this time. But I don't know if they just didn't have enough evidence quite yet or if they were still building the case. But there were over 250 people working on this case.
Wow.
100 investigators were brought in, 25 being sheriffs from different parts of the state. Even the FBI and DEA were helping. So they weren't short-staffed.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's also amazing because you said the town had about 2,000 people, so their police force wasn't going to be that big.
I believe like the Pike County population was like 27,000.
Oh, okay. So the county police was probably a good amount. Okay.
That's what I'm assuming. May 3rd, 2016, police towed 3 vehicles in to search. May 4th, the next day, another vehicle was towed in. Tips would flow in, over 500 tips, but nothing really led to anything. They interrogated at least 130 different people. May 12th, they would move all the trailer homes into police possession to search them and to protect them from being tampered with. Which I didn't know police could just like up and take a whole house.
If it's mobile.
Yeah.
Can you imagine people like looking as they're driving down the road?
You got like 4 houses being moved.
Like I would totally be like, is there a police escort? Like, are there signs? Because I would totally be following.
Yeah. And I believed it was the houses in the picture. It looked like the houses were being towed by just like a regular truck.
I would definitely be following. I would be like, what the heck is going on?
August 4th, a hearing was held for the custody of the children. Sophie had been with Jake and his family this entire time, and I believe they gained custody of her. Police would voice that they were still worried for the safety of the children, with the killer or killers still being out there. This would be only told towards the family members and the court. The public would not know of this, that police thought this. I am assuming that Brentley went into custody of Chelsea, his mother, while the 2 other babies went into CPS care. August 13, police arrested 2 men who killed an officer in a different area. A news report would come out that police were looking into them for the shootings, but this would be false. These 2 men had nothing to do with these murders. A year would go by and still no arrest. May 12th, 2017, police began searching a 71-acre property that was previously owned by Jake. The property was in Peebles, and he sold the property in the March prior to the search. In June of 2017, police announced they were not only looking into Jake, but also his parents, Billy and Angela, and his brother George. They would ask the community for any tips on the family. If they heard or knew anything, maybe one of the Wagners let something slip that could suggest they took part in this. But no one heard anything. And come to find out, the whole Wagner family packed up and moved to Alaska. They would claim that it was for Sophie to get away from the pain and misery of what happened. And the police and people would try talking to them about the murders. And they would say it would just bring up things that they were trying to move on from. But the community didn't really put two and two together. They didn't really think anything of them moving to Alaska.
Yeah.
They just thought it was a family getting away from the murders.
Trying to believe the good in people.
Yeah. November 13th, 2018, Jake was arrested along with his parents, brother, and two grandmas.
Grandmas?
Billy's mother, Frederica, and Angela's mother, Rita, did not take part in the murders or planning out the murders, but did lie to police. They committed perjury and obstruction of justice. After Hannah broke up with Jake, the Wagner family wanted to take full custody of Sophie, and they didn't want to share. They would threaten and pressure Hannah into giving up Sophie, but she wouldn't. It would also get to the point where Jake would stalk and threaten Hannah constantly. At one point, Jake thought if he would be able to put his name on Hannah's new baby's birth certificate, they would get back together.
And the new baby was not his, right?
Yeah. Not his. But we don't know who the
father is.
Yeah. The Wagners would accuse Hannah and her family of not taking care of Sophie. They would claim that they believed Sophie was being sexually assaulted. Nothing ever came of this, so we don't know if it was made up by them or not. I would hope that they made it up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with a lot of custody, that's one of the go-tos.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is, instead of what's best for the child, the parents tend to, not always, but there's usually something like that.
Hannah would message Jake over Facebook and tell him that the only way he was getting custody of Sophie is if she was dead. Jake's family always took his side no matter what, even if he was wrong in certain situations. And once Hannah sent that message, it was kind of set in stone. The whole family would begin planning for the next 3 months. They would agree that they couldn't just kill Hannah. They had to kill anyone who would suspect them as the killers. At least that's what prosecutors believed at the time of the arrest. And I believe it too. Over the next 3 months, the Wagners would buy more ammo to the guns they already had and equipment for making untraceable silencers. They would also buy a device to jam phone signals and brass catchers to catch the bullets as they were shooting. Getting a new car, one that none of them had similar to. New shoes to make sure they wouldn't have any recognized footprints. And lastly, Jake and George would dye their hair a week before their murders in case the mask they were wearing slipped. Jake would claim that the only ones they were supposed to kill were Chris Sr., Dana, Hannah, Frankie, and Chris Jr. But before committing them, they agreed that anyone else in the home at the time would also be killed. They didn't want any witnesses. Jake, Billy, and George would go to each house killing them. Jake claims that Billy, his father, was the first one to shoot and shot Chris Sr., also claiming that he only shot 6 out of the 8 victims and Billy shot the 2 others. And George just helped clean up the mess and get rid of the evidence. He didn't take part in the actual killing. That's what apparently, to them, that's what happened. Angela would stay at home watching Sophie. She would hold on to all of their phones, making sure they would ping at home, not where they were actually at. At first, Jake would plead not guilty and wouldn't talk. But then the death penalty was brought up, and he sang like a banshee.
Fucking prick.
Yeah. The state offered Jake a plea deal. If he pleads guilty, then they would take off the death penalty for all of the Wagners. But he would also have to testify against his family. March 21st, 2021, Jake pleaded guilty to all charges, which did include a charge for unlawful sexual conduct with a minor when Hannah got pregnant. Jake would help them find all of the murder weapons. He said that he had put all of the guns into a slab of concrete, and that slab of concrete was given to a family member to use as an anchor on his boat. This family member had no idea that this slab of concrete actually had weapons in it. He just thought it was a regular anchor.
Yeah, probably like, oh, that's so cool. Thank you. What the fuck?
Yeah, imagine finding that out. Police
Yeah.
come in. Oh yeah, the thing that you're using as anchor has a bunch of guns in it.
That was used to kill
You're
8 people.
Yeah. Fucking bullshit. It seemed like Jake accepted the plea deal to save himself and his parents and other family members from the death sentence. But that wasn't necessarily the truth. Yes, he did do it to save himself, but once he knew he was testifying against his family, he turned on them. He would claim that they made him this way. They raised him to be the criminal he is today. As he was growing up, his dad taught him how to pick locks and break into vending machines. Because that totally equals
Murder.
Yeah.
Fucking twit.
Even stealing cattle and other things from people. At one point, the Wagner family built a whole building out of stolen items. But I will say this, take this with a grain of salt. This is all coming from Jake, a man who killed his daughter's mother.
Right.
September 2021, Jake was sentenced to 8 consecutive life sentences with the possibility of parole after 32 years. It is believed that he was allowed parole because he worked with the police in court and all that. But make that make sense. 8 consecutive life sentences.
Like, let's just say for argument's sake that each life sentence is 30 years, or whatever the max would be. So 30 years. 8 times 30.
Yeah.
That is absurd to me.
Even if the sentence was only 15 years.
Yeah. Okay.
He would die in prison before he got out.
Right. And this gives him a chance to get out and live somewhat.
And when he committed these murders, he was in his 20s. So.
Oh, yeah. So he can get out and still have half of his life to live when he had a part in 8 people dying? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Angela also pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 30 years with 6 years already served. During her trial, she did speak saying she was sorry and basically feeling bad for herself for what she did. The judge didn't buy any of it. The judge said, "Nobody seems to talk about the fact that you're the only person that could have stopped the whole thing with one phone call. You're standing there with cell phones that people want you to ping to make it look like you're home. All you had to do was call in. Stop the whole thing."
Yep.
Yeah. Rita, Angela's mom, was sentenced 5 years of probation, just over a $700 fine, and 180 days in jail. Frederica, Billy's mom's charges were dropped, and I have no idea what happened or why they were dropped.
She might have had information that well, it said that they were dropped, so maybe they felt like
she didn't have any part in it.
Yeah.
But earlier they said she did lie.
For lying, yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
George pleaded not guilty and was sentenced to 8 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. It is possible that he got no parole because he went to trial unlike Jake. They also wanted to make an example out of him. Make an example out of the main fucking killer.
Mm-hmm.
Billy was supposed to start trial in January of 2005, but then it got moved to May of 2025. He pleaded not guilty. The prosecution appealed removal of the death penalty before his trial even began. So I believe that's what we're waiting on now, to determine if death penalty will be on the table or not. And his new trial hasn't been set yet.
Why would the prosecution want the death penalty removed?
They want to appeal the removal of the death penalty, so they want...
I heard it wrong, yeah.
The death penalty back on the board.
You said it right the first time. I just wasn't... I
wasn't
wasn't incorporating right.
Your ears weren't all the way up.
Yeah. No, you're good. You said it right the first time.
Hannah Gilley's mom gave an impact statement, and it was very emotional. She is angry and yelling during it, which is rightfully so. She claims that Jake is the spawn of Satan, and that Billy is Satan himself. Directing herself to Angela, she tells her that she hopes they all die except her, so she can feel a fraction of what she feels. And her impact statement is pretty long, and she says a bunch of other things, so if you do really want to listen to the whole thing, you can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
I figured I'd just do the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where, on the other hand, Tony, Chris Sr. and Kenneth's brother, talks in a completely different style. He's very quiet. I mean, he's not quiet, but he's like quiet and calm.
Mm-hmm.
And he thanks the community and police for helping in this case. When asked what he feels about the murders, he just says it's madness. When asked what he feels about Jake and his sentencing, he said he feels sorry because he's just human, saying that all of us are just human. That doesn't mean you can...
Yeah.
Maybe it's his way of moving on and everything, but...
Yeah.
Brentley was at the age of 3 at the time of the murders. Chelsea, his mother, said he has severe PTSD and vivid nightmares. He's not able to walk around his house alone. Even just going room to room, he needs someone with him.
So are they allowing people to come in and whoop their ass? After hearing, whoa.
Yeah.
That poor baby. I mean, the whole family, but
yeah,
the baby, like, witnessing everything.
And I believe when Bobby Joe went to Frankie's house, Brentley basically answered the door.
Oh my gosh.
And Bobby Joe asked where his father was asked Brentley where his father was, and he said in the bathroom, and it's just horrible.
Yeah. That poor baby.
I am not exactly sure where Sophie and the 2 babies went. I do know their names, but I'm not putting it out there for their privacy. I know they went into the care of CPS, but other than that, I don't know exactly where they went. I can only hope that they went to another family member, or at least to a household that loves and takes care of them.
And even poor Sophie, like half of your family is gone. The other half of your family is gone because they're in prison. Like,
the thing is, they wanted custody of her so bad, but they lost.
Yeah.
Sophie just lost both sides of her family.
Yeah.
And I believe Sophie was either 4 or 5 when this happened.
Oh my gosh.
Christopher Rhoden Sr. was 40 years old. Dana Rhoden was 37 years old. Frankie Rhoden was 20 years old. Hannah Gilly was 20 years old. Hannah Rhoden was 19 years old. Christopher Rhoden Jr. was 16 years old. Gary Rhoden was 38 years old. And Kenneth Rhoden was 44 years old. I do have a couple of mentionings before we get into dissecting this. When Jake was speaking at his sentencing, he of course claimed he found God in faith, like they all do. Luckily, the judge didn't really care. He said that it didn't mean anything to him, and what he has found, or whatever he was claiming, it doesn't change the facts or the way he views him.
Yep.
After killing Hannah, Jake claimed he positioned the couple-day-old baby in a way that she would still be able to breastfeed, not knowing when the bodies would be found, and worrying that the baby might starve. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, let's get into whatever the fuck this is.
Clearly he has no knowledge of, what happens when a person dies.
Apparently.
Does he assume that she's going to continue to be able to produce milk for days?
Apparently. And he might have positioned the other Hannah as well, because she had the 6-month-old boy.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure,
Mm-hmm.
because Bobby Joe did say that when she found Hannah, it looked like she was already breastfeeding when she died. So, not quite sure on that.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand is, why would they kill Kenneth? That was a 10-minute drive away. Jake claimed they only planned on killing the 5. Chris Sr., Dana, Frankie, Hannah, and Chris Jr. And Kenneth wasn't anywhere near them.
Right.
So why the fuck would they kill Kenneth? Did they have a grudge against Kenneth, or did he do something that the Wagner family didn't like? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is they decided to kill Kenneth because that would probably be Jake would probably be the first person, or at least the family, when the police came asking questions, he would probably mention them as a possible, they're crazy and this is the things that they've been doing. That's the only thing I can think of, is that's why they killed him.
But Chris Sr. has more than one brother. There was Tony as well.
Oh, right.
So if that was...
Yeah, so that didn't make sense then.
Yeah. Maybe Kenneth was closer to all of them.
Yeah.
Not quite sure.
And wasn't Gary an added person too? Because Gary wasn't part of the plan, but he was there.
He was there.
Yeah.
And Hannah Gilly wasn't planned either.
Mm.
She was just there.
Just there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just completely fucked up all the way around. I just don't understand.
Just when I thought it was almost over, it just kept going.
Yeah, I never knew where you were going.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And then a marijuana farm, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can get where that possibly is going. And then I never expected it to be the other family. I mean, there was lots of red flags, but I didn't expect murder.
Well, the thing is, a whole family killed another whole family.
Yeah, that's just so fucking weird.
This is definitely a different view on family murders.
Right.
And Jake gets parole, but George doesn't.
Right.
Not saying George should get parole, but the main murderer gets parole.
Yeah. And the only thing I can think of is because he sang.
Yeah.
And he turned on everybody. That's the only thing I can think of as to why.
Yeah.
But still, that's like infuriating. I hope he doesn't. I'm assuming the public would come forward public and family to the parole board and explain like,
don't let him out.
Yeah. He literally killed all these people, and then he turned around and then blamed his family for the way he was raised.
Yeah.
Which one thing doesn't correlate to the other. So, yeah.
And just because you're raised one way doesn't make it right.
Right, exactly. You're an adult. Take responsibility for your actions. So one of my questions that I had put down kind of got answered because where Chris Sr. was already starting to decompose, I was kind of wondering if because like I said, I had no idea where this story was going. I put, well, did the people in the home kill him and then someone else showed up and killed everybody? And then I was like, well, that doesn't make sense now that I know the whole story.
Yeah. I just had like a thought. I'm thinking, what if they killed Chris beforehand and then they went and were killing the others and Gary showed up in the middle of it and...
Oh yeah, that's a good thought. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then they're like, or maybe they saw him like walking up to the house or something, because the homes were pretty close together, right?
Yeah, they were within walking distance.
Yeah, so maybe they heard a vehicle, or if he would just walked over there, they saw somebody walking in there. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if Gary lived in that house or if he didn't. I don't quite know.
You know me, I have a problem with the age difference in children and the adults. Now, I know, like, if the one was 18, 19 and the other was 30, I don't give a shit. But the 20-year-old and 13, I have that.
Yeah. Fucking 13.
Yeah. What? A 13-year-old is literally
a baby
going through...
Just going through puberty, probably.
Yeah, like totally different aspect of life than a 20-year-old. A 13-year-old is just barely getting into teenage, all the kind of things, well, between 12 and 13, whichever. And a 20-year-old is going into adulthood. What in the hell do you have? What in the hell would drive you? I'm trying to choose my words very carefully. To be attracted to a child. Like, what the fuck?
Definition of pedophile.
Yeah. And then I was also wondering, so the Chris and Dana, when they got married, I was kind of wondering if it was a secret marriage because she was 16. I don't know what the laws are. I know in certain states, as long as you have your parents' permission, you can get married, but sometimes they do like a secret marriage and it's filed with the court, but only the individuals, only like the bride and the groom can at a later point. And it's usually done to seal, or at least early on, like 80s and before, it was done to, they did a secret marriage to conceal like pregnancy and that kind of thing. Yeah. Or to get away from the parents.
I'm thinking it was probably not a secret marriage because this family seems to be okay with age
Yeah.
gaps. And that's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just because someone's a family friend
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that a 20-year-old can date a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Just because he's a good guy. Well, obviously not. 'Cause
Right.
Fucking just killed a whole family.
Yeah. I'm thinking not.
Fucking asshole. Was that all your questions and thoughts on this case?
Yeah.
Other than it's fucking shitty?
Yeah. To put it nicely.
Yeah. Okay.
For our second case, it's around Christmas in Mansfield, Texas. The time for baking cookies, hot cocoa, home-cooked meals, decorations, and for the Wamsley family, murder.
Because, that's... just goes with the holiday.
Rick Wamsley was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas on August 30th, 1957. Rick had 3 siblings, Rodney, Krista, and Kendra. His family moved from Pittsburgh to Parsons, Kansas in 1959 and then settled in Bartlesville, Oklahoma in 1968. Rick would attend and graduate from Sooner High School in 1975, and then he would further his education by attending Oklahoma State University in 1980. Here he would get his bachelor's in accounting. And then in 1990, he became a certified accountant. Susanna, nickname of Susie, was born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, on December 30th, 1957. She had 1 sister, Melissa. Susie's family would move to Muskogee, Oklahoma in 1969 and then settled in Bartlesville in 1972. Susie would graduate from Sooner High School in 1976 and then attend Oklahoma Christian College. Susie and Rick met in high school and were friends but were not dating. It wasn't until they were both in college that they met up and started dating. They would then get married on July 13th, 1978. Because of Rick's job as an accountant, they would move a bit, from Stillwater, Oklahoma, to Salt Lake City, Utah, to Mansfield, Texas, to name a few. Rick had decided to open his own CPA practice, and by all accounts, it was the best decision for him and his family. Rick and Susie would have 2 children, a daughter, Sarah, who was born in 1978, and a son, Andrew, who was born in 1984. December 11th, 2003, 11:41 p.m. 911, what is your emergency? The dispatcher was met with silence. Going off of instinct, the operator dispatched the police to the Wamsley home. Upon arrival, the police noted that nothing seemed out of the ordinary from the outside. They knocked, but no answer. Some of the officers walked around the home and noticed that the garage door to the garage was open, and so they entered. Walking through the house, the police noticed that the phone located in the kitchen was taken off of the hook and placed onto the counter. Walking through the home, they found Susie on the couch, and Rick was in the foyer. EMTs arrived at 12:14 a.m. and confirmed that both were deceased. Autopsies revealed that Susie had died from a gunshot wound, but also had 7 stab wounds on her body that appeared to be done after she had passed. Near the fireplace, there were 2 bloody handprints, a bullet, 2 pieces of a hair comb, and another piece of plastic. Rick, even though he was found in the entryway, the evidence led police to believe he was attacked in the master bedroom. There were 2 bullet holes in the headboard. There wasn't any blood in the bedroom, so it was possible the attacker missed and Rick woke up. He ran from the bedroom and put up a fight. He had clumps of hair in his hand and around his wrist. Rick had also been shot and stabbed 11 times in the back. Police searched every room and dusted all surfaces for fingerprints. It was initially thought that this could have been a robbery, but there was $15,000 in cash and several other valuables that were in the home, and there were no signs of forced entry, so that theory was rejected. No one could believe this happened. Neighbors and friends didn't understand who would do this. They were so well liked and such generous people. With further investigation, authorities focused on the children. Why? Well, their father had a $1 million life insurance policy, and their home was worth well over $1 million.
Damn.
There was also at least $100,000 in cash, in $100,000 in cash, like in bank accounts.
Damn.
It was found that there was tension in the family with both children. Sarah had actually been kicked out of the house when she was a teenager due to her actions. Sarah would become pregnant at the age of 19 and in an unhealthy relationship. Sarah and Andrew, when Sarah lived at home, fought constantly. Tensions weren't just between the siblings, but also the parents and the children, which is why Sarah was kicked out. There was an agreement in this household that if you went to college, Rick and Susie would pay for everything. If you didn't go, you would be cut off financially. Sarah did not want to agree to those terms. Andrew, however, did agree. Andrew had his college paid for, gifted a new white Mustang, car insurance was paid, and he was given spending money. Andrew ended up dropping out of college and didn't tell his parents. When they found out, they cut him off financially. They told him he could still live at home, but he had to get a job to pay for the things he wanted now. Andrew would mostly spend his time hanging out at a local IHOP with his friends. On one occasion, his friend James introduced him to his sister, Chelsea Richardson. The Richardsons lived in a blue-collar community and were very generous. Chelsea's dad had died a few years ago due to a heart attack, so her mom would sometimes have to work 3 jobs to keep everything together for her family. Chelsea was only 17 and still in high school. She was very outgoing and friendly. Her nickname by many was Bubbles. Her best friend was Susanna Toledano. Susanna had an unstable environment with her mom and was able to move in with Chelsea and her family. Sarah was told by the police about her parents' passing, and when police tried to contact Andrew, he was nowhere to be found. The police issued a statement on the news stating the vehicle, the description of the vehicle, and the plate number. After that, Andrew showed back up at his house with his girlfriend.
Convenient.
Yeah. Andrew stated he didn't know what had happened because he had been staying at his girlfriend's house for a few days. They saw the news and headed over. Police asked Wamsley and Richardson to come down to the station for an interview. Wamsley's interview lasted over 40 minutes, and there didn't seem to be anything suspicious except for a scratch on his hand. Wamsley did sign a document giving permission for the officers to search his vehicle. He was free to go. Once he left the station, he called his sister and told her that the police would probably find their mom's blood in the car. He claimed she had been cooking and cut her hand, took his car for a short drive, and then came back home.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if that was the case, there would be a first aid kit in the house. Just probably. Richardson's story matched Wamsley's. She explained that they were inseparable since they started dating. She said that they would play the game Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, playing so long that they would lose track of time. They had begun talking about marriage. Richardson's mom was so happy her daughter found someone who got her. She adored Wamsley. Rick and Susie did not feel the same way about Richardson. They felt their son should be with a different type of girl. Richardson had explained to the officers that during the night of the murder, her, Wamsley, and Toledano were all together that night at an ex's of hers. His name, Jeremy Lavender. He corroborated her story and added that they were also on the phone until well after 3 a.m. Police contacted Sarah for any new information she might have regarding anyone who might want to harm her family. She said that her ex, who was her daughter's father, might have had something to do with it. They fought constantly before and during her pregnancy, and even fought after regarding custody. Sarah stated she even threatened to call CPS on him. This was a little over a month before her parents were killed. Sarah also explained an incident that happened after the conversation where she had gone on to a writing lesson with her parents. They were looking for somewhere for lunch when their vehicle was struck by an object. Rick thought it might have been a large rock, but it was in fact a bullet. Susie called her son first to find out where he was, and then the police. Odd that she called her son first, but whatever. What's weird is there was a white Mustang following them for a long time, right up until the bullet struck it.
I wonder who owns a white Mustang.
Yeah. Police investigated Sarah's ex, but nothing came of it. The Mustang was searched and dusted for prints. There was presence of blood throughout the car, but the car had been thoroughly cleaned and there wasn't any viable DNA they could use for testing. The investigation was stalled. Richardson, Lavender, Wamsley, and Toledano would testify to a grand jury. Toledano even offered to give DNA voluntarily. The DNA sample Toledano gave matched the clump of hair in Rick's hand and the DNA from the pieces of plastic found on the floor in the home. Side note, the pieces of plastic were listed as either pieces of a hair clip or pieces of a comb. Toledano was arrested and charged with 2 counts of capital murder. She would face lethal injection. Toledano started talking. She explained she was hanging out with a different friend that night, Hilario Cardenas. He had a gun and needed money, so she showed him where Wamsley's lived. He went inside the home and she stayed in the car. When she heard gunshots, she ran inside. She said Rick begged her to save him, but she said she had no way to stop her friend. She blamed everything on him. Who the hell was Hilario? Well, he was the night manager at the IHOP that was frequented by the group. Toledano stated that he befriended the group when he found out Andrew's family had money. When Hilario was arrested, he denied having any involvement with the murders. He did state that he had purchased a gun, but it was purchased for Wamsley. Hilario stated that the teens would shoot the gun at a range. Upon further investigation, this was found to be true. The so-called range was at a property of a friend of Richardson's mother. She had a few acres that the teens would come out and practice shooting the gun. This went on for a few months before the murder happened. So Toledano was given a second chance to tell the true story. She explained that several nights a week the teens would come up with a plan to take out Andrew's parents. Once they did, he would inherit $1 million and they could all live together. Toledano said she would quit her job and get a new car. They believed they would be set up for life. During their target practice, it was determined that Toledano had the best aim. The plan was for her to shoot the gas tank of the Jeep when Wamsley's were in the car. It would then blow up. That did not work. Richardson and Wamsley were furious with her. On another day, they made her stay in Andrew's closet, and the plan was for her to kill them once it got dark. She couldn't do it. The third time, the 3 of them were in it together. They wanted to make sure it happened. Toledano had the gun, and the other 2 had knives. Toledano shot Susie, then she was directed to the master bedroom and shot at Rick. She missed and hit the headboard, which woke him up. Richardson told Toledano to go make sure Susie was dead. She left the gun and took a knife down to where Susie was. When she was heading to the living room, she heard Rick ask why, and Richardson said it was because she was pregnant. Rick said they would help her, and then she heard shots fired. Richardson and Wamsley were arrested. Richardson, while in jail, would brag about what she did and how she got them to do what she wanted. Some informants testified to this. Lavender's prior statement was recanted. He explained that they were not on the phone and did not hang out at all that day. For Richardson's trial, it took the jury 4 hours to deliberate and she was sentenced to death. Later, Richardson's attorneys were able to get her sentence changed to life in prison. It was determined that evidence was withheld from the defense. An assessment done on Toledano, where she had made 2 statements that she was more guilty than the others and she could have stopped the murder. At Wamsley's trial, the defense made arguments that he had schizo tendencies that would make him unlikely to be violent towards anyone else in the future, and that he couldn't understand love and caring for someone in any type of relationship he had. It took the jury 2 hours to deliberate, and he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2044.
What's with these people letting people parole?
Right. Like, 2044 is like nothing.
That's less than 20 years away.
Yeah. Hilario was charged with conspiracy to commit capital murder and was sentenced to 50 years and was eligible for parole in 2023, but was denied. So he is still in prison. Toledano was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2034.
Bullshit.
Agreed. The only thought I had is you can definitely tell that that Andrew was definitely not necessarily spoiled, but like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say. That definitely, my only thought is greed was definitely clearly a motive.
Definitely. His parents taking away his money.
Yeah.
So
I think that's definitely what set it off. But
yeah.
That was the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
He agreed to it, and then he dropped out of school and was continuing to collect on the benefits of it. And then his parents found out about it, and he was
Dunzo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't really have like a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
The only question I really had was answered. I said personal because they were stabbed after death.
Yeah. So my thought is Toledano went downstairs, and the autopsy revealed that Susie was stabbed after she had died. So I think Toledano went down there, and even though Susie had already passed, she stabbed her to make sure.
Yeah, make sure.
And they said that she just fell asleep on the couch watching TV or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
But the... Sorry,
you're good. I don't even know what I was going to say.
If the gunshot was, it was the one person with the gun, right? It wasn't multiple. It was only the...
Yeah, it was just Toledano that had the gun. And then when she shot Susie, and then the son, Andrew, showed them where to go to where his dad probably was, which his dad was asleep in their bed. And she shot at him, missed, and so then he got up, and he probably ran downstairs to see to get Susie and get the hell out of the house,
or call or something, do something.
Yeah.
But my thought is, was he hard of hearing? Because if Susie died first, right?
Yeah.
If the gunshot went off, he didn't wake up.
Yeah.
From the gunshot?
The only thing I could think of is unless this house was ginormous. Yeah. And I don't know if that had a factor. I don't know where their home was. I mean, where their bedroom was in the house per se. But yeah, maybe he, like you said, hard of hearing or like a very hard sleeper type thing. I don't know, but
yeah. But then she misses the shot and he wakes up to that. So like you said, maybe the master bedroom and the living room are far away.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they got a silencer and all that.
No,
They seem like not very bright kids.
Yeah. I mean, it said, I think the home was, at that time, was like 1.6 million or something like that.
So I gotta imagine that it's
a big...
Yeah, especially in 2003.
Yeah. And it's Mansfield, Texas, which is noted as a wealthy area, very large homes and that kind of thing. But so I don't know the layout of the home, and it's like we said, it's possible he was just a very hard sleeper.
Yeah.
We know some individuals like that.
Yeah.
But.
And then my other thought was, as you were going through the story, I was like, did Andrew and Sarah gang up and kill their parents? Or did Andrew and his girlfriend gang... But he answered.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I can see definitely why the police... I mean, that would be the first obviously burglary, but there was no forced entry or anything like that. Second, definitely the kids, because of what they were due to inherit. I mean, you have the home, the vehicles, the life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of the things, the cash, all the things. It would definitely point to the kids.
And then they had to definitely be planning on killing Sarah. I mean, she did have the gunshot hit her car when she was driving.
Oh, she was with her parents.
She was with her parents?
Yeah, so it was her parents driving, and she was in the back seat. And at that time...
That was when
Yeah, Toledano. So the police report said... Or not the police report. Yeah. So the police, by her statement, by Toledano's statement, was that Andrew was driving, and she was in the passenger seat. And when they were behind, she shot, and then they took off.
Yeah, tried to hit the gas tank.
Tried to hit the gas tank, right. And that was successful. So that's when they started, well, now we have to go to the house and kill him that way.
And then she went in Andrew's closet, but then couldn't do it. So then they all together went to the house on a different day. And
the other two were very furious with her that the plan for the gas tank to blow up didn't work. And then they were even more angry with her that she didn't come out of the closet. She was in there for hours, she said, waiting, and she just couldn't do it. But so it's possible that, like, they weren't intending on killing Sarah, but even though she was in the vehicle, it was like then it's possible they were like, oh, well, you'll get all the money. So
yeah. Well, my thought is that they would try to kill Sarah because they were talking about getting all of the money, the $1 million.
Yeah.
And using it together. So my thought is, were they planning on killing Sarah if they weren't caught?
Probably. I mean, she was she had her own apartment with her baby. So it's very possible. Like,
I mean, maybe she wasn't on the inheritance because she didn't go to college.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. There was, I mean, with all the history of the tension in the house and everything, it's very possible she wasn't even listed.
Like, I just watched a TikTok last night, and I think it's an old video, but Shaq, I think his name is. The
basketball guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on Ellen DeGeneres, and he said that if his children don't go to college and get a degree, they're not put on his will. So I'm thinking that could
have been something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And it's interesting to me because even though both parents had degrees, or at least it seemed like Susie also had a degree. I don't know for sure if I couldn't find anything on that, but it did say she went to college. I just know that they both had a degree, so maybe that's why they wanted their children, and they thought that maybe that was the only way they could be successful is by having a college degree.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't. And 2003 is kind of when a college degree actually mattered.
Yeah.
Not more so. Now you can have any college degree and they let you.
Yeah.
You can go into IT and have a fucking college degree in dancing.
Yeah, as long as you have that piece of paper that says bachelor's on it.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that was pretty much all my thoughts and questions on this case. This one was kind of, I mean, both of them were kind of like an open and shut case.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any questions or...
Yeah.
There's more of like, why didn't they get a longer sentence?
Yeah, for sure. Both cases.
Yeah. Fucking ridiculous. Our hearts go out to the victims in these cases and all individuals affected. With that is all we have for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram at Girls Gone Curious Podcast. Until next time.